Herc, Alejandro, we missed March Madness this year, but we're going to bring you a bracket that I know you both will appreciate. It's our MLS Eliminator bracket. And the final answer that we will get out of this is who is the next MLS player most likely to go to Europe, okay? So we've got 8 players, 7 head-to-head matchups. You're each going to vote for who you think will go to Europe first. And if there's a tie, I'll break it.
Are you clear on the game or what, sir?
Yeah, what's going on?
Do you know the rules, laws, and regulations of this game or what?
Well, I was explaining that there was a graphic that made it all very make sense very clearly, right? Okay, so we've got 8 players. Let's go to our first matchup. It's an all-Atlanta matchup. 21-year-old Ezequiel Barco, 26-year-old Pity Martinez. Herc, I'll start with you. Who of those two is most likely to go to Europe?
When we say go to Europe, what are we talking about? Are we talking about big team, big league? Or
Europe,
are we talking about going to Scandinavia?
Going to Europe.
This is a tough one. It really is, because you look at the body work for somebody like Pity Martinez, and South American Player of the Year, multiple Libertadores, Argentine national team. There's more of a pedigree for him to go there. And also his play with Atlanta United, what was some of last year and what we've seen a little bit of this year. Maybe Atlanta is keen on a sell. But then you look at the other side of Barco. I think it's that contract situation where they paid, I think, 14 plus million for 75% of his contract. That gets murky to me. I understand he's got more upside and it's more of a sell because of his age. But I'm going to pick Pity Martinez on this one. I just think there's more of the base there. There's more of that Argentine national team allure. He's still of good age. I'll go with Pity.
All right, Ale.
You had asked me this question this time last year, I would have told you, no doubt, no question, Pity Martinez. And the reason I would have said that is because, well, for one, he certainly doesn't seem to fit into whatever Frank de Boer is doing at Atlanta United. And he hasn't really played all that well. He hasn't truly been the player that they were expecting him to be. And Ezequiel Barco had been a disappointment as well up until that time. And I think there were questions about his maturity, and there were questions about whether this guy was willing to do the things that Frank de Boer was going to ask him to do. Well, I have to say, there's been one player that has turned that around, and it's been Ezequiel Barco. And what we saw from him midway through last season and really towards the end of last season is a guy that became truly an angular piece to the success of Atlanta United. His upside, I think, is there. There's a skill level. And now we see a maturity that perhaps we didn't see 12 months ago. I'm going to say Ezequiel Barco is more likely to go because of the age factor. Pity Martinez, I think, is a finished product. You see what he is, and you don't have to project what he's going to be. What you see of him right now at 26 years old, this is it. And I'm only going to suggest as well that Pity Martinez has been largely, in my estimation anyways, fallen short of the expectations of what he was going to be. People were thinking, well, if we're getting this guy in place of Miguel Almirón, he's going to be special for us. And really hasn't. Has had moments, but really hasn't been consistently special. And so I think they're going to get stuck with Pity Martinez. I think his market is closing down. And so, therefore, the window of opportunity, I think, is opening up more so for Ezequiel Barco than Pity Martinez.
Ale votes Barco. Herc votes Pity. I'll be the tiebreaker. It's much easier to disagree with Herc than it is Alejandro. So I will also vote Ezequiel Barco. I'll also throw in the age, 21 versus 26. All right, next matchup. Diego Rossi, Rodolfo Pizarro. Rossi, 22. Pizarro, 26 years old. Ale, I'll start this one with you. Who is most likely to go to Europe?
Well, so there's already been conversation as to what my selection is going to be in terms of having had contact with Europe. There was speculation about Fiorentina. There was speculation about Krasnodar. I'm going to say Diego Rossi, and there's an age factor here as well. There's a market for him and the versatility of him as a player. I think Diego Rossi can find himself into a mid-table team or perhaps a lower-tier team in one of the top leagues, if not moving on to a European league like, say, Russian league or Scandinavia, something to that degree in which he can actually play an important part in a team that may need a guy with his versatility and his flexibility as a player and his talented, as talented as he is in the attacking half.
Herc, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is an easy one for me. I agree. It has to be Diego Rossi. Forget about the age. Let's look at really quick Rodolfo Pizarro. Rodolfo Pizarro is a Mexican international. If you put a Mexican international, Uruguayan international, same age, same credentials, they're going to go for the Uruguayan probably 9 out of 10 times without looking at the player because they have a proven track record in what is world's football. This is one of the things that Mexican players or CONCACAF players have going against them, that track record. And he's 26 years old right now, Rodolfo Pizarro. The price may be too much as well, what they may ask for him. It's got to be Diego Rossi. And if I'm not mistaken, Diego Rossi's father is of Italian descent, and he actually has an Italian passport, so it's going to be much easier for him to get there. And the fact that he's a goal scorer, I think Diego Rossi, his stats speak for themselves. It's very much easier to sell than a player who's much more of a luxury piece that doesn't have those goals and stats.
Herc, I thought Inter Miami was going to be the springboard for Pizarro. Are you saying he was wrong?
You asked me who's going to go first. If it's Diego Rossi or Pizarro, I'm picking Diego Rossi 100% of the time. Doesn't mean Pizarro can't get there.
Okay.
I'd also say that Rodolfo Pizarro just got to Miami, and so you would assume that he's going to be there at least a couple of years just to, at the very least, make the contract worthwhile for Inter Miami and
2
his
games,
time
1
in
goal.
Miami. Yes. So you think he's going to be there for at least a couple of years. I'm not sure that Diego Rossi is going to be around for a couple more years at LAFC.
All right, we've got our first 2 semifinalists. Let's go to the other side of the bracket. Now, this isn't to go to Europe for a first time. This is a return to Europe between these two. Who's more likely to return? Carlos Vela at 31 years old, Jozy Altidore at 30. Both have been talking about it a little bit of late. Herc, who do you see?
Okay. This is purely by subtraction. And Carlos Vela is not leaving Los Angeles at $6-something million a year. He's already spent 12 years in Europe. He's 31 years old. That Barcelona boat was already sailed. There is no going back to it. If you want to get Carlos Vela, who's expecting a second child with his wife, to leave Los Angeles at this point in his career, man, it would have to be a big team like Barcelona knocking at his door. And I don't see that happening right now. For as talented as he is, he's not leaving, but because he doesn't want to. I think Jozy Altidore, on the other hand, he's 30, turning 31. He wants the possibility of playing another World Cup. I think if he realistically wants to play in that World Cup and there are players knocking out the door behind him in the U.S. men's national team, he's probably going to have to leave. He's probably going to have to go somewhere that's more of a high profile and prove that he can still do it. I don't think Carlos Vela needs to. I don't think he wants to.
Ale, you agree?
Well, I would say neither one is going. But since I'm forced to pick one, Herculez just mentioned the contract for Carlos Vela and over $6 million a year. Well, similarly, Jozy Altidore, the reported salary is guaranteed compensation of over $6 million a year as well. So who in Europe is lining up to pay that for Jozy Altidore? I just don't see it at this point in his career. And so I can make the same arguments that Herculez just made for Carlos Vela staying, for Jozy Altidore staying. I don't think either one is going, but if I am to choose one, I say Jozy taking a major pay cut, maybe for a last go around in Europe, perhaps. I don't even believe in myself, but I'm forced to choose one. I'll pick Jozy Altidore.
All right, the final quarterfinal here, an all-U.S. MNT affair. We've got Jordan Morris at 25 years old, Aaron Long, 27. Ale, who is most likely to go to Europe?
I'm going to say Aaron Long. And there are aspects to Aaron Long's game that I think he can certainly improve upon. But those are things that in a different environment, in a different competitive level, I think those are things that he can certainly improve upon and certainly he can get better at. And I think those issues are easier solved for a defending player than it is for an attacking player. Jordan Morris is a standout player in Major League Soccer, has been for a few years now. But we've also seen years in which Jordan Morris struggles to score goals and struggles to make the impact that the Seattle Sounders need to have him. So it's a final product now, Jordan Morris. I think we know what he is and how comfortable he is in Seattle. And I think there may have been times, an opportunity for him to take that jump to Europe, and he has chosen to stay. I don't think at this point in his life he may be looking to jump. So Aaron Long has been flirting with jumping for a while, so I'm thinking Aaron Long.
Long or Morris, Herc?
Aaron Long. Ali touched upon him already flirting with that jump. He's 27 years old, but I'm going to say he's a young 27 because you look at the amount of games he's actually played first division over the last 5 years. I think it's under 100 games. He's a player who came onto the scene very late. He's a player who's learning a new position. He's only been playing center back for a handful of years. He's been very good at this level, which is the Major League Soccer level, already Defender of the Year. But I think he can make that jump. I think he will be a key contributor to the U.S. men's national team. I think he actually wants to. And I'm not sold on Jordan Morris wanting that jump. He's had the opportunity before. I mean, he was a college player playing with the U.S. men's national team. The options were there. He chose to stay within Major League Soccer. He's very comfortable in Seattle. Ali spoke about that off year he had in Seattle where he wasn't producing. Then he had the ACL injury. It's taken him a while to get back into the groove of things. But look how important he's been for club and country in the last year. I think he's comfortable. I don't think he wants to go. I see Aaron Long wanting to go.
All right, we're down to our last 4 players most likely to leave MLS for Europe. Let's knock out this first semifinal real quick. It's all U.S. men's national team players, Aaron Long and Jozy Altidore. I don't think either of you guys are picking Jozy. Are you, Ale?
No, Aaron Long. I don't have to explain myself.
There you go. Herc, same thing?
I'll take Ali's words.
Okay, Aaron Long is into the final then. Let's see who he's going to go up against. The other semifinal, oh, it's a good one. Barco and Diego Rossi. Herc, who's most likely?
Diego Rossi. I think Diego Rossi has more of a body of work in what is his mentality. I think that's the issue here. You have 2 very good young players. And yes, Barco has Libertadores, or I believe Sudamericana, excuse me, that allured to him and how well he did in that tournament. But I think there are more questions about him mentally than his actual game. I don't see those holes with Diego Rossi. I see a very good player. I see a player who's very versatile, can play anywhere in the front line, and is very attractive for European teams. I don't see him sticking around much longer in Major League Soccer.
Ale, you agree?
I don't think Diego Rossi is going to stick around in Major League Soccer much longer, but I also don't think that Ezequiel Barco is sticking around in Major League Soccer for much longer either. I'm going to say Ezequiel Barco, and it is merely a product of having seen the turnaround by a player, and that comes from hunger, that comes from drive. That drive doesn't just come overnight. I think he was forced into growing and maturing as a player, and when I see the change of attitude, it tells me that there's a purpose to what he's trying to do with his career. And I think for him, it's always been in his mind, whether he says it out loud or not, that MLS was going to be a stopover for him, that he was going to use it to then take a bigger jump somewhere else, and that jump is about to come at some point. I'm going to say Ezequiel Barco.
All right, forcing me to be the tiebreaker. I'll go Rossi just on the goals, had 16 of them last year. Plenty of final product right there. All right, we've got our final. Aaron Long, Diego Rossi. Herc, who is the MLS player most likely to move to Europe?
Diego Rossi. It has to be. And Ali touched upon Barco and how he found that new sense mentality and that hunger. Well, Diego Rossi's never had that fall. Diego Rossi has always just kept getting better. They asked him to play in the center. He can score goals. They asked him to play on the right. He can score goals and assist. They asked him to play on the left. He can do the same thing. He's a very good player in the attacking third. He doesn't mind rolling up his sleeves and working. He's got a very good work rate, very good mentality about him. And everybody here speaks volumes of him. I think this player is ready to make the jump today.
Diego Rossi, Aaron Long. Ale?
It's Diego Rossi. It has to be. And the contacts have been there. The flirtation has been there. And I know Aaron Long is looking for that jump. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen over the last couple of months. But I'm going to suggest that Diego Rossi, he is ready to go right now. If a team came over to LAFC and actually put an offer that they would be comfortable with, I can see how Diego Rossi would say, all right, this was great in LA, but see you guys later. I'm moving on, and I'm finding out what this European experience can be like.
Diego Rossi, 22 years old, 16 goals, and according to our expert panel, the MLS player most likely to move to Europe.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.